Well, I'm very honored to be here among so many distinguished and accomplished people, and especially Tamil Canadian community. I came into this, sort of not really. I've changed my tack, much like Dr. Silverman said. He was wondering what he was going to, talk about, and so I had all these facts and figures and reasons why we should be getting involved. But I think it's clear that everyone in this room understands why we should be involved, and so I'm going to try to speak to some other issues and also some questions and some self-reflection about ourselves and Canadian society and our role in helping and assisting and showing solidarity with the people who are suffering anywhere on the planet, and in this case in Sri Lanka. So I come with a lot of questions and curiosity, and I'm so happy to have heard the speakers that I've heard so far, because I've learned so much from all of you and things that we can take back and think about and move forward on. So a couple of my points I wanted to begin with are, and also wanted to acknowledge that the historic Algonquin territory that we're all on, and this land that we're all on, that for generations was Algonquin land. I think that some of the questions I have, and then I want to move into the advocacy part, and what role that we can, humble role that we can play, and in moving this situation forward. But one of the things that comes to mind is, and I want to put this out, and not in a critical way, but it's sort of it's a self-reflective way, because I found myself doing this as well. I think that when we are in our society, that when we talk about when we look for a terrorist under every rock, that creates a system of fear, and it's often then used and applied by other regimes to say, well, this is just about terrorism. And that's a pretty wide brush, because you can't paint an entire population as a terrorist in any society. I think people all want the same things ultimately, is, a roof over their head, access to food, a good life for their kids and their community. I mean, that's essentially, I think, what everybody wants, and that's what brings us all together. Are those aims, and those simple aims, but important aims of people in every society. So, having said that, I think that also when we look at the colonial history, and I don't want to review old history, but just in the sense of our role in the separation in Sri Lanka, was in many ways fed historically by colonialism, and so reflecting on that colonial nature is also important for us as Canadians, and also the role that we play in the Commonwealth, that we can help, that we can show solidarity, and that we can find ways and innovative ways to have a conversation. I was really struck by John's comments when he talked about, we have to talk to everybody. It's not about sort of painting one side as all bad and one side's all good, because we reproduce those kinds of norms. And I know that might be hard to hear, because there's some terrible things going on. But again, it's not an entire community. There are political forces at play, colonial forces at play, economic forces at play, that all come into this, that we have to think about. I don't know, and one of the questions I have is are we not more involved as a nation politically, and engaged as a population as well, with our members, because we don't know enough about the issue? Is it because, in geopolitical terms, we don't want to offend other governments who may be, courting influence in that region? But we've been down this road before, and I recall in my union years ago, in the 70s, in fact, we gave an office to South African advocates who used our offices, used our resources to organize and raise awareness here in Canada. So that was a sort of humble contribution that we made. So I think that when we talk about advocacy, we're talking about different levels of advocacy, and they're not necessarily separate. The previous speakers talked about the importance of that political work with political leaders in society. And we believe that, wholeheartedly. We also believe that it's what we do with our members and sort of at the base in the communities to raise awareness and have them asking questions and also pushing that agenda forward. And so it happens at two levels. Yes, we get involved. We provided resources to groups in previous times, but also it was great work by political leaders of all parties. I mean, from Flora MacDonald to David Kilgore to Sven Robinson, it's that connection between our voices and those political voices that can make change, because we live in a complex society, so finding space is so important. Now, why are we here? Why is representing my union today? Well, it's actually the Tamil Canadian community that is the reason why we're here. Our members, Tamil members of our union, pushed this issue, spoke to us, advocated, spoke out, wrote letters, and convinced us and brought in a resolution to our last convention in terms of giving us some direction. I'd just like to read a few points from our new policy. And hoping that you'll help us on this, because as Dr. Silverman said, what's in words isn't always in practice. So we've got some nice words here, and so now what we need to do is to make those words meaningful so they actually grip and have some resonance. So CUPW recognizes that the Sinhala people and the Tamil people have been living on the island currently known as Sri Lanka, had their own separate kingdoms until the European invasions. Tamils have been fighting for their independence to create a country known as Tamil Eelam for many years. The government of Sri Lanka and the Tamil parties have failed to resolve the Tamil issue, while death, destruction, and suffering of the Tamil people continues unabated. Therefore, CUPW will actively work towards an end to military assaults and other acts of violence that take the lives of innocent people in Sri Lanka. We will demand the Sri Lankan government immediately withdraw from Tamil Eelam. The union will call on the Canadian government to increase humanitarian aid to the Tamil people. CUPW will work in solidarity with Tamils and human rights organizations in developing an education campaign about the nature of the state of Sri Lanka and Canada's support for these practices. And we'll research the Canadian government's policy and monetary aid to South Africa. We'll work with other organizations and unions to lobby against apartheid-like practices of the Sri Lankan state. We'll lobby the Canadian government to persuade the government of Sri Lanka to stop the human rights violations against Tamils and to give free access to the UN-appointed panel into Tamil homeland to meet with the Tamil population of the land and conduct impartial investigation on Tamil genocide, war crimes, and human rights violations during the war in 2009. And I am reminded, and certainly from John's talk, that this isn't completely one-sided. There were atrocities on both sides. And what the important thing is not to point fingers and point blame, but to find a way through this that adds our voices in a really meaningful way, and a pragmatic way, and an intelligent way. We'll work with our allies to lobby the government to initiate a review on its policies on economic cooperation and financial aid to the government of Sri Lanka in light of its records of human rights, freedom of speech, and media. The thing that excites me here today is that search for common ground. We may have differences in different areas, and certainly I'm in a union that has fought in many places in many ways for the rights of working people. But that doesn't change the fact that when we find that common ground, we can be so powerful, we can be so strong in stopping injustice, as we look at the example of South Africa. So again, I'm here more to listen, to understand how we can move forward on our policy, and also contribute, not from an act of helping, but actually an act of human solidarity, that we're all people, we're all human beings, we all have aspirations, and that wherever we can celebrate that in meaningful and pragmatic ways is something that we have to do. And I'm just overjoyed that we've been asked to be here, and I want to hear more, so I'll just end it now, and thank you very much for having us, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you.